青や強がって飛び乗って風に流って青空昨日を越えろ
Hello everybody and welcome to Talking MONS, our Digimon Adventure 2020 recap podcast. My name is JD and joining me are my two good chums, Gary and Jeanette.
We miss you all.
Hey, nice to or do this thing for you guys.
Yeah, sorry we were gone last week. We had just some... Life's hard right now. I'm sure everyone can sympathize. What it turned out was not actually such a bad thing because the last 3 episodes have kind of like been their own like small mini arc, and the episodes we're talking about this week, episode 17, kind of just run together, so it's actually a little more pertinent to talk about them together. So we are going to be talking about episode 17, titled "The Battle in Tokyo Against Orochimon." And episode 18, which is Countdown to Tokyo's Annihilation, which isn't ominous at all. So, go ahead, Gary.
Oh, no, I think, Jeanette, did you watch these two together? Because I did.
I did.
And I'm pretty sure we're going to mix like events up.
Confession, usually when it comes to the Digimon, I watch it half an hour before coming on the podcast, so...
I mean, that's fine.
Same here to keep things fresh in my mind.
That's the only way I remember anything that happens in the episodes.
I watch it on Sunday when it comes out because I'm a fucking nerd.
Because you're true fans.
Yeah, I've got a Digimon tattoo and everything. But I think pretty much we can talk about episode 17. Not much really happens. Basically, I mean, honestly, so at the end of episode 16, they beat Aizmon, who's this giant eyeball tower of darkness. They defeated at the end of that one, and the beginning of this episode, it turns into Orochimon, who we've seen in other seasons before. He's a big 8-headed snake monster. And really, episode 17 is just about them fighting Orochimon. It's a 22-minute long fight scene, basically.
It's kind of slow.
Yeah, it's a very slow 20-minute fight scene.
Like, there's a lot of hiding, I mean, which makes sense, and some bits in the real world.
Kind of weirdly paced. Like, some parts happen very quickly and other parts are drawn out. Like,
yeah, I mean, kind of this whole like 3-episode arc is kind of it's oddly paced with its fights. We'll get more into that when we get to episode 18.
Yeah, but like, for example, like they fight the monster and almost immediately are defeated by it and have to retreat. Like, there's no, like, me. I was actually talking with my husband because I was like, we're kind of more used to the Digimon or like Yu Yu Hakusho where the fights are more drawn out and they happen over multiple episodes and there's highs and lows.
Mm-hmm.
The show, like, things escalate and de-escalate very quickly.
They do, yes. Every fight is more or less solved in one episode, unless it's like this, where it's like just multiple stages of a fight. But it is a ramping up and ramping down by the time you get to the end of the episode.
Yeah, and still, like, each stage was one episode.
Right. I kind of the only other thing we got from this episode was you kind of got flashes of TK and Kari, what's going on with them in the real world. Kari kind of gets separated from her mom, who I love that the mom is still carrying the cat cage around with her.
Yes. No, the mom has her priorities straight. The cat is number 1, Kari's number 2, Tai is number 3.
You can't forget Miko. He's the best character.
He is. I can't wait till Miko becomes a Digidestin.
No, I just literally I don't know why I remember the name of Tai's family cat, but I just remember from the Digimon movie, there's just like it's like Tai, his mom, and Izzy are in the living room, and then they react to something that's on TV, and the cat also reacts with them, like an equal amount of surprise. And I don't know, that has always stuck with me for some reason. But was there anything that really kind of stood out to you guys with this episode?
Well, I was kind of half expecting that as they attack the decoy heads, I mean, it's kind of like a hydra thing that I was expecting, where it's just going to split into more of them. I'm kind of glad that didn't happen, because that was kind of predictable with a multi-headed snake monster.
Yeah, for sure. Jeanette, was there anything that stood out to you?
I like the evolution scenes in this one. I thought they were really cool. It's kind of like, the transformation scenes in Magical Girls, where they put that little special effort in each evolution scene, except when they don't. But I really enjoyed them in this one.
Yeah.
Really?
You kind of get to see everyone in their ultimate forms, kind of trying to fight together again. So that was kind of cool.
So my little theory was kind of correct in regards to how this special fake Tokyo makes it a lot easier for them to affect the real Tokyo.
Yeah.
Next episode.
Yeah. So at the end of episode 17, basically a 10-minute clock countdown timer starts, and nobody knows what it's for. But it appears to digest it, and it starts appearing on every device in real world Tokyo. And that kind of is where episode 18 picks up, where it turns out Orochimaru didn't die. Actually, it turns into a mega level, the highest level Digimon we've seen in this show so far, named Nidhoggmon, because we're getting real Norse up in here. He has opened a wormhole between the digital world and the real world, and is like sucking real world digital energy into him. And I guess after the 10 minutes is up, he's gonna like go nuclear or something and like destroy Tokyo.
It's gonna turn every phone in Tokyo into that Samsung phone from a few years ago. And just blow in people's pocket.
God. That just seems like a lifetime ago compared to just everything this year, honestly. But yeah, this episode is kind of where it picks up, because even though they're like exhausted from the last two stages of the battle, Ty, Matt, and their partners like persevere, and hey, Omnimon's back to do the most slow and drawn out fight in this entire series.
I really enjoyed it. Like, as you say, like, life is hard right now. Like, it's true for me too. And I just really thought it was this sort of shonen inspirational shit. I'm like, I'm so down for that. I'm so down for something hopeful and fun, and I really liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I'm always down for watching Omnimon kick some ass.
Yes,
I'm just not so down with Omnimon spending half of the episodes half the episode in a force field. Like,
yeah, it's just
doing his cape swagger and
soaking up damage.
Yeah,
he's a freaking tank, a damage sponge.
My problem with it is like he's just protecting himself, because he covers himself with his cape, which I guess activates a force field, because that's, I guess, the thing he has now. And the energy blasts around him. He's just protecting himself and anything that is directly behind him.
Like, all of fake Tokyo is destroyed by the blast.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, like Nidhogg's like energy blast is still going all around him and all behind him. It's just whatever is like literally directly behind him, and himself is fine. So I get the other kids are kind of like hunkered down somewhere, so they're fine. But
they were hunkered down. They were literally in the middle of the street, and Izzy was like right next to the path of one beam, and that's probably some weak ass beam from a mega level Digimon,
right?
Because they seem like unharmed.
Yeah, and I just remember there was a scene like everyone on the ground is like looking hella shocked, and Izzy is just looking really annoyed for some reason.
Oh my gosh, Izzy's facial expressions in this were amazing.
Like, go hide behind a building or something. You're like literally out in the open.
But so I did have a little bit of a problem with this episode, and it's mostly, again, I think it's kind of a pacing thing. But so the 10-minute timer starts. Nidhoggmon like shows up pretty early on. That clock gets down to about 4.5 minutes before Omnimon starts doing anything. So you guys have been sitting here for like 6.5 minutes, just staring at a clock, doing nothing.
So,
The slow laser, the jumping around, and that weird tongue thing. I was expecting like a fire breath, but I was not expecting that tongue turned into multiple laser beams.
Yeah.
I that monster. He's got the like sexual predator tongue, and that thing is that was not comfortable.
I will say his weird triangle head reminded me of that Pokemon from the newest generation that like is like a jet carrier or something and like shoots little
the dragon, Dragapult.
Yeah, he shoots little dragons out of his head. His weird
Yeah.
triangle head reminded me of that.
Like the design itself in Nikogmon feels really uninspired. It's just like a random scribble.
Well, it's just weird because like I can see Nidhoggmon and Eismon, like I see how they're related. But
I like Eismon. Eismon is a lot more creepy.
Yeah.
There's no shape or form to it. But Nidhoggmon, there's shading. It have this 3-dimensional feels to it. It's more realized than just a amorphous glob of eyes.
Yeah, I just didn't see like okay, Eismon, Nidhoggmon. I see the relationship between there, but then Orochimon is between the two, and it like is not anywhere remotely close to it design wise. So I'm like, it felt like it was just kind of thrown in there as a middle stage for them. But
like, are they actually evolution? Because we never actually seen them evolve. Like, are they just three bosses waiting for each other to get defeated?
Eyes and Nidhoggmon are I think they're like brand new to this show. Orochimon's been a long established Digimon, so I don't know if he has an established evolution line, but you know, whatever.
Also, can I go on a little tangent about Eismon?
Go for it.
It's the same thing with me and Funbeamon. Because that Eismon, the name, is just so like I mean, you have some like Mega something Terriermon, some really fantastically long name, but then you have Eismon.
I mean, yeah, so some Digimon get more names than others, and some have a very, some just have a very simple name. I mean, there's a Starmon, and there's some names are just there's Leomon. I mean, there's just some names are very literal.
Also, Eismon, the name itself just doesn't seem so threatening compared to like Nidhoggmon. Nidhogg is like a freaking Norse god. Of course, it's gonna be terrifying.
It's a snake that eats the world tree. So it's just kind of apt in this situation, I suppose.
Sorry, that was my little tangent.
No, that's fine, man. I also have a problem. Again, we said how long this fight's drawn out. I was literally yelling at my TV from about halfway through the episode, yelling as like, Omnimon, you have a gun and a sword, use them. And then he like, as soon as I like started yelling about it, he pulls out the freeze beam and starts shooting him. Which it also like it is another like trope that is prevalent in pretty much all media, is that like freezing someone never works. Like you freeze someone completely solid, it only takes them a few seconds to just will themselves to, like, they don't really move, they just will the ice to break around them. And I noticed that happens a lot in media.
Well, I will say that they could probably have put in a little more time in the real world to help pace out the fight scene, because the fight scene is just a lot of standing around. But so was the real world. But with like everything going on, which I would say it's kind of genius that they're using regular stuff instead of like a missile attack. Like everybody has a phone, they're gonna overload every single piece of light bulb. It's gonna make every electronic explode. That is a kind of a pretty creative plan for our modern world. Like they could have like gone into that a little more, and just people standing around looking up in the sky.
I have so many problems with everyone standing around in the middle of Shibuya Square under a lightning storm and doing nothing about it for like 90% of this episode.
like with the mom and and Ty's sister. Crap, I forgot her name all of a
Kari.
sudden. Kari, yeah. Like that could have been played up a little more. It's like she searching around, or maybe Kari was like following the screens of where the Digimon are, and she's not paying attention. But no, she's just standing around, and the mom is just like here and there once or twice. That we
Kari
get a
and
glimpse.
TK are their sole purpose in this episode is to stand around staring at the sky, watching a feather gradually come closer to them until it does.
Yeah, I had no idea what was going on with that. I was like, what? And
Well,
like,
I took it as that's their cue. Like, okay, they're gonna get their partners because obviously the angels have to show up eventually. It's just like the entire episode, the feather is floating down and they're staring at it, and then like at the last second of the episode, they grab it, and I'm like, all right, cool. Hope that amounts to something soon.
They
so.
play a role in Omegamon's evolution because I mean, it happens at the same moment that they grabbed it. Is that
Right.
how he evolved? Like I think it happened in the very first.
I have
few
no idea. I guess sure.
Okay. The one thing that really bugged me, like I was okay with this episode. I really enjoyed it. But the one thing that really bugged me was even though like the Digimon evolved to Omnimon, they should have been fried by a crisp by that beam before they had a chance to do their evolution. Like we got proof that those like when humans are hit by the Digimon attacks, it hurts them, and then they take a full-on blast and they're fine. I'm like, what? And Russ is just like, don't question it. Just don't question it. I'm like, I don't get it.
He's too powerful to take that kind of damage. He's just Omnimon is a god, basically.
I guess for a second. Well, this was before they turned into Omnimon, though.
Oh.
Like right before. And I guess like, I mean, Russ said it's plot device armor, but
I mean, it is. Honestly, with anime, you kind of have to just just kind of have to go along with the ride. I'm like, sure, why not?
fair, very fair.
I will say I got some cathartic joy out of watching Omnimon take the sword and slice Nidhogg down the middle, just right in
Yes.
half. And I'm like, okay, cool. Could have done this a while ago, but I guess we gotta wait.
Was Omnimon in the preview? Because like throughout that fight, it's like they're gonna bring in Omnimon. When are they gonna bring in Omnimon? Come on, bring in Omnimon.
When Omnimon's not around, you should be asking, where's Omnimon? I don't remember. I don't remember if he was in the trailer or not. But go ahead.
Oh, I'm very excited to talk about the end of the episode.
Go for it.
Okay, Devilmon is so cool. I love him, or whatever his name is.
Just Devimon.
Devimon. Like he finally, like I know we got hints of him before, but he finally shows up and he like makes a sand like dummy of himself to throw sand at the Digidestin and taunt them. And oh my gosh, I loved it.
Yeah, it was a nice reveal, and I like that he like showed the. Well, I guess it didn't really he didn't show him. I mean, I did. Did the fake Tokyo go away as soon as Nidhoggmon died, or was it after Devimon showed up and he made it go away?
Omegamon did a sword stabby at the ground.
Oh, that's right. he did the sword stab and it went away. But yeah, it was kind of cool how Devimon doesn't really show up. He actually just shows up like as a sand apparition to taunt them, but is still able to shoot lasers.
Yes.
I wish this is the first time we see him.
I like that this is the first time that the kids have seen him. I do like that he's been slowly peppered in every so often before. So it doesn't seem like so out of nowhere that he's here now, because we've seen him before and we know like Ogremon was working for him. So we know that like all of these like evil Digimon that they've been fighting for the last 20-ish episodes, that like he's been behind it all. So I just like it. I feel like his final revealing to the kids here, I feel like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And it feels right now. It feels right to do it now.
And the Digimon world, like the real world is feeding the Digimon world or something.
Right. I still have some questions about general power levels because as we know, Devimon is a champion level. The kids have already surpassed that, so I'm really wanting them to explain how he is a threat to them.
Well, he would be the schemy kind of villain
I guess.
in this iteration of the story.
It was just like in the original show, they had all of their champions and they're having problems with them. I get that until Angemon comes in because obviously the angels got to beat the devil. But they're all a level above him. And in the original show, when everyone was in their ultimate, they were already on to the next arc's bad guy. Well, I guess it would have been the second act because Edamon's the second arc bad guy. Myotismon's the third arc bad guy. But yeah, I have to keep reminding myself this is not the old show. This new show has different rules, probably. So,
Hey, maybe Devimon maxed out all his EVs and he's like,
maybe, man. He's just he's top tier Devimon.
Yeah. He's a 100% Devimon with maxed out EVs.
Yeah. But this episode pretty much ends with a hurricane separating everybody because why not? Matt and Ty are separated from everybody else. And they're like, okay, well, I guess we're going to cross the desert now and go find the Holy Digimon together. And I guess that's just what they're going to be doing now until they meet back up with everybody again.
Pretty much. And
hey, Leomon shows up next episode.
Can't wait for Leomon. He can die for us.
I was about to say, I made that joke to my wife, who again has no context for any of this, and she had no idea what I was talking about. It's like, oh look, it's Leomon. I wonder how long it'll be before he dies.
Leomon dies for your sins.
His power is to die.
Yes.
He shows up, is really awesome, and then he dies. And sometimes in more horrifying ways than others. Like, I understand Jerry's mental breakdown in season 3. That was fucking horrifying. How fucking Beelzemon just stabs him. Tamers is a good series.
Still my favorite.
Yeah.
I really need to sit down and watch Tamers. I really need to do it.
Seasons 1 through 4 are all on Hulu.
They are?
Yeah, Adventure 1, 2, Tamers, and Frontier. It's all the dubs, but you can watch the first 4 seasons on Hulu.
Cool.
Yeah. I wish they had the sub versions, but man, what are you going to do? Well, do you guys have any other thoughts about these episodes before we wrap up?
As always, I'm excited for next week and to see what happens. I'm excited to see if the flying potato finally shows up.
The potato.
Wait, the potato?
I think Patamon means, or Patamon's Japanese name means flying potato or something like that.
Oh, okay. I was expecting Patamon to show up this episode 18. Like, I guess it's been hinting at there's something's going on with Patamon and TK for so long.
I was kind of half expecting that to be like the last minute of the episode where TK has the feather now, so I figured it would have shown Patamon from behind and he'd be like, hey, I'm Patamon, and that's literally all of it is, so that way next episode you kind of get to see them interact or something.
I was also kind of expecting the two kids to grab the feather and then open their hands. It's like, oh, a Digivice.
Me too.
Well, I know Kari grabbed it. I don't know if she did it. Did she open her hands back up?
No, she didn't. Her hands remain closed.
So for all we know, that could have happened.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
It's true.
I just want something to happen with those two characters. I'm like, I've been teased enough. Just finally do something.
Game, for God's sakes, TK's in the ending now, so I mean, he's got to do something soon.
But
yeah. Well, yeah, so there you go, guys. There's our thoughts on episodes 17 and 18. We'll be back again next week to talk about episode 19, where we're going to get to see some Leomon action. Hopefully that'll be fun.
Hopefully he'll survive the episode.
I'm sure he'll survive for a little bit.
I don't know. The pacing of the season is so fast, he may be dead by the end of the episode.
Place your bets. How long does Leomon survive?
Winner take
Say
all.
3.
All right. Well, guys, if you'd like to let us know what you thought about this episode, you can do so on our Facebook page, our Twitter, our Discord. You can find the links to all of those on our in the show notes, and you can also comment on the YouTube version of this episode. And if you'd like to take us on the go, we are available on pretty much every streaming platform. So, if you're into that, cool. But until we see you again, everybody stay safe. And we'll see you again next week.
Hiya.
Bye.